I'm 17, living at home with my family, and I help out with cooking and cleaning. Lately, my brother and his wife moved in next door, and they're over for dinner a lot. One day, I was chopping onions for dinner, and my sister-in-law flipped out. She said onions were too spicy for her, and refused to eat anything I made with them. I had to throw the whole dinner away and start over, or get yelled at. So, for a while, I cooked without onions and garlic, but she complained every time that the food had no flavor. Eventually, I started prepping meals in secret, chopping onions and garlic before she arrived so no one would see. Last night, my brother saw me chopping onions but didn't care. During dinner, we got onto the topic of her being sensitive to spicy foods. My brother joked about it, pointing out that she was eating the meal I made. Suddenly, she started acting like the food was too spicy and demanding milk and water, even though she had eaten it fine before. And guess who got yelled at? Me. Apparently, I'm the asshole for cooking onions. But honestly, was I really? If you want, I can also write an even snappier 60-second version optimized for YouTube Shorts with punchy dialogue and visuals that hook viewers. That version would hit the drama and humor in under a minute. Do you want me to do that?
I'm graduating college in 2 weeks, and somehow my graduation turned into another argument about my dad's feelings. My parents divorced when I was 11. My mom was the one who carried everything after that. Extra shifts, late night breakdowns, helping me stay in school when I wanted to quit. My grandma helped raise me too. I only had 4 graduation tickets, so I invited my mom, my dad, my little brother, my grandma. My mom even paid for the Airbnb, gas, and rental car, so everyone could afford to come. When my dad said money was tight and he might skip my graduation, my mom quietly paid for part of his hotel too, because she said, "You deserve both parents there." Then my dad called me excited because his girlfriend Kara got the weekend off and was coming too. I've met her twice. At my brother's birthday dinner, she called herself our bonus mom, and my brother looked miserable. I told my dad there wasn't room for Kara at the Airbnb and no extra graduation ticket. He said she could sleep on the couch. That's when I snapped. I told him my mom paid for this trip so he could support his daughter, not turn my graduation into a couple's weekend. He got upset and said my mom always gets to be the main parent and he didn't want to feel awkward alone. And honestly, that hurt the most, because even at my graduation, everyone was still expected to manage his feelings first. I told him if Kara not coming meant he stayed home, that was his decision. Now my aunt says I humiliated him. My dad texted, "I hope making your point was worth it, but all I wanted was one weekend where my mom didn't have to sacrifice her comfort to keep everyone else happy."
After my father died, I moved back home to help my mother. I hadn't really lived there in 30 years because the house had become a hoard. The kitchen was the worst part. Sticky grease on every cabinet, fruit flies stuck to the walls, rotting food, boxes piled everywhere. So for a year, I cleaned 4 dumpsters, thousands of pounds of trash. I scrubbed the stove, rebuilt drawers, organized cabinets, and finally made the kitchen feel human again. It became my space, the one place in the house that felt calm. Then, one day, while I was flying home from a trip, I begged my mum, "Please don't touch the kitchen until I get back." She promised. Instead, she invited a friend over, and they completely tore it apart, moved everything, stuffed items into bags, turned the kitchen upside down. When I called upset, they laughed. Her friend called me a control freak. But the painful part, my mum knows exactly how this feels. No one is allowed to touch her room. I wasn't angry they cleaned. I was angry because after spending a year reclaiming that space, they ignored the one boundary I asked them to respect. My 15-year-old son was beyond excited when tickets for the new Backrooms movie dropped. He spent almost $80 of his own money buying tickets for all his friends and planned the whole night himself. A few days later, one of the mums stopped me after school. She told me her son, Bob, had never seen a horror movie before, and she was nervous about letting him go. Fair enough. But then she said something that caught me off guard. "If Bob goes, his dad will sit right behind the boys during the movie." I just nodded and left. But the more I thought about it, the stranger it felt. These were high school kids, excited to have a little freedom, not little children on a field trip. Then I found out the movie was actually rated R. And suddenly, Bob's dad, sitting behind them, didn't seem weird anymore. Maybe parenting is just realizing you're making it up as you go.
When our daughter was born, the sleepless nights started immediately. My wife had a rough pregnancy and often slept through the baby crying, but I've always been a light sleeper. So every night, I'd quietly get up, warming bottles, changing diapers, rocking our baby back to sleep. I never complained. I thought that's just what parents do. Then one night, while out with friends, my wife laughed and said, "We're so lucky. Our baby sleeps through the night." I stayed quiet until we got home. When I finally told her I'd been the one waking up every night, she broke down. She said I should have woken her up, that by handling everything myself, I stole those moments from her. But I never saw it as mom duties or dad duties. I just saw my daughter crying and wanted her to feel loved.
8 months after breaking up with my boyfriend, I finally started feeling like myself again. I got healthier, happier, more confident, and for the first time ever, I made a cosplay that actually showed my face and body. I spent 6 months making it for a huge convention. Then my ex messaged me saying, "Please don't wear that cosplay. It'll make my new girlfriend uncomfortable." I refused. At the con, people loved the cosplay, but his new girlfriend kept making snarky comments all day until dinner when someone asked if she'd ever cosplay too. She laughed and said, "Why would I need attention from guys? I already have a boyfriend. I'm not a slut." "Yeah," I snapped. I called her a pick-me bitch. She started crying. My ex demanded an apology, and the argument got so bad, our entire friend group got kicked out of the restaurant. Now my ex is threatening to leave the friend group unless I apologize. Honestly, I still don't think I'm the villain here. So my sister is 31 and pregnant, and now half my family thinks I'm an asshole because I finally snapped at her fiancé. He's one of those fake calm guys who says rude shit with a smile, so if you react, you look crazy. At Thanksgiving, he asked if I was still doing my little photography thing, even though it's my full-time job. Another time, he made some joke about women panic marrying after 30. My sister laughed both times, even though growing up, she used to cry to me about our dad acting exactly like that toward our mom. This weekend, they had a backyard dinner for the baby's gender reveal. Everything was mostly fine until her fiancé started talking about how now that they're having a son, he can keep him away from emotional women. Then he pointed at me and said, "That's why your aunt is single with 3 cats. I only have 1 cat, BTW. My sister laughed again, and something in me snapped. I said, "Yeah, well, at least I'm not marrying someone who talks exactly like dad." Whole table went dead silent. Her fiancé instantly started acting offended, saying I was disrespectful in his home. My mom started crying. My sister looked furious and later texted me, saying I ruined her night because I'm bitter and alone and jealous of her relationship. My brother secretly agrees with me, but says I should have kept my mouth shut for the sake of the party. Maybe I should have, but watching her laugh while her fiancé kept taking little digs at people made me feel sick because it reminded me so much of our mom pretending our dad's comments were funny just to keep the peace.
From the day she was born, Sierra fought the world. As a baby, she didn't cry. She screamed. And now at 16, every rule feels like a battle. Her mom has tried everything: therapy, medication, specialists, social programs, all to help her daughter navigate life with autism and ODD. Making friends has never been easy, so Sierra found comfort online. Her best friend Amy lives 1,500 miles away. They FaceTime constantly, and now Amy says she convinced her mom to buy VIP concert tickets, and even a plane ticket for Sierra to fly there alone. Sierra was thrilled. Her parents were terrified. When they said no, the screaming started again. Angry messages, silent treatment, total war at home. Now, her exhausted mother is left wondering, is she protecting her daughter or destroying their relationship forever?
I turned 24 a few weeks ago, and during my birthday dinner, my oldest cousin handed me a small leather camera bag. Inside was a vintage film camera that used to belong to our grandfather. She smiled and said, "I wanted you to have it because you're the only one in the family who truly loves photography. I think Grandpa would have wanted that." I was honestly speechless. The camera was old, dusty, and barely working, but I loved it instantly. Over the next few weeks, I cleaned it carefully, bought film for it, and even paid to repair one of the lenses. Soon, I started taking photos with it and posting them online. It felt special, like I was carrying a small piece of my grandfather with me every time I clicked the shutter. Then came the next family gathering. Apparently, several relatives were shocked that my cousin gave the camera to me. Suddenly, everyone had an opinion. Some said it should have stayed on their side of the family. Others claimed it belonged to everyone because of its sentimental value. The weirdest part, nobody had ever mentioned wanting the camera before. 2 days later, my cousin called me, sounding nervous. "Can I maybe take the camera back for now?" she asked quietly. I asked, "Temporarily or permanently?" There was a long silence before she admitted, "I honestly don't know anymore. The family's fighting about it." I couldn't believe it. If it had been a loan, I would have returned it immediately. But it wasn't a loan. It was a birthday gift, a meaningful one, given to me openly, in front of everyone. And now suddenly, I was being called selfish. Some relatives said I was choosing an object over family peace. Others acted like I had stolen something sentimental away from them, even though I never asked for it in the first place. All I did was accept a gift and treasure it. Now, the camera that once captured family memories has become the reason the family is tearing itself apart.
At 19 years old, I won $4 million in the lottery. At first, it felt unreal. I told my parents a week later because I was excited, and I trusted them. They hugged me, celebrated with me. Everything felt perfect until they started spending the money in conversations like it already belonged to them. Retirement, luxury holidays, a boat, a new car, traveling the world. Then I asked the question, "How much do you think you should get?" Without hesitation, they said, "Half, $2 million. I was shocked. Not because I didn't want to help them. I did. I offered them $750,000, enough to change anyone's life forever. But instead of gratitude, they called me selfish. Now the argument has been going on for weeks. And honestly, I still love my parents. But winning the lottery taught me something nobody tells you. Money doesn't just change your life. It changes the people around you too.